Shalom, shalom. This week's Parsha is Parshat Vayishlach, and so many fascinating things in this Parsha, but I want to look for a few minutes at one little story that happens, and that is when Yaakov, after spending 20 years in the house of Lavan, he's on his way back to the land of his father's home. He's returning, and he's about to encounter Esav. Now, Esav, as we remember, is the reason why he left his home in the first place, because Esav wanted to murder him. He got 4 wives, 11 children until this point, and he feels it's time to return home. Now, when he's going, and he's in fear because he hears that Esav's on the way to meet him with 400 men, he's in the middle of the night, he's crossed over all of his family and possessions over the Yabok, and he's left, it says, by himself, levado. And then it goes on to tell us that a man fought with him. They wrestled all through the night. Now, this story, I'm going to read you parts of it to show you just how ambiguous it is and to tell you what I think and why I think it's left that way, is that we're told that he's left alone with this man and he wrestles with him and he injures him in the socket of his hip, and they keep wrestling him and the dawn has broken. And so then, now I'll start reading from the English of the narrative. Then he said, "Let me go, for dawn has broken." And he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." He said to him, "What is your name?" He replied, "Jacob." He said, "No longer will it be your name Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with the divine and man, and you have overcome." Then Jacob inquired and said, "Divulge, if you will, your name." And he said, "Why then do you inquire my name?" And he blessed him there. This important is Vayoverech oto sham. And he blessed him there, and then Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. Okay, we'll go on and on, etc. So now the question is, he said. It's a little difficult to figure out who's saying what in the narrative, and I think that the way I see it this year, one interpretation of many, is I think this is an internal dialogue. An internal dialogue based on the fact that it says he's left alone and then the man fought with himself. So it fits that he's left by himself, and there's an internal struggle. There's an internal dialogue. This is the nature of man. We are basically, people used to see it as like an angel and a devil standing on the shoulders, one saying this, one saying this. But that's a very, very simplistic way to understand and missing a point. We have 2 parts of us. We have a part of us that's our internal being, who's connected with what our purpose is and what's meant to be. And then we have another part of us that through whatever reason throughout life has been influenced, be it by our parents or our siblings, the environment. It could be a whole trillion reasons. We become someone else, so to speak. We aren't true to our real selves, and this can bring us difficulties in life. Now, I think that Yaakov had this problem, and he had a problem with his identity of Yaakov and identifying with this identity. Now, we're told that he was named Yaakov. He was holding on to the heels of Esav. I think he was always doing that. He was always subject in his life to not just Esav, but Esav forces like Lavan as well. And everything that he did had to revolve around what they did and him and managing somehow through them. And throughout his journey and throughout his years in the house of Lavan, he spent building his character, getting stronger, learning how to stand up for himself, learning how to really be who he's supposed to be with his life, until he was able to say at a certain point that enough's enough. He's leaving, he's going to have his own life, and he picked up to leave the house of Lavan. So now he's coming with a more assertive being, and he's able to be more in tune with who he is, what he needs, what his life is supposed to go. But now he's about to meet Esav. And again, let's remember, when Esav even picked on his name, Yaakov, he said when Yaakov got the bracha, he said, that's why his name is Yaakov, because he's tricked me to these 2 times, which goes on the root word of Yaakov. He twisted it to the fact that he tricked me 2 times. And he said that that's what his name is. And this is like something that was like enforced in Yaakov, and he had to grow out of it, and not to be Yaakov in the way that people perceived him, not to be Yaakov in his life, waiting and doing things based on the other. And he has gotten really, really far at this point. But now that it's the moment of truth is going to come, and he's going to face his brother, and it's also an alter ego sort of thing, and he's going to have to combat him. It could be physically, it could just be verbally, it could be in whatever way, but he's going to encounter him. He needs to be his full self, and he's having this internal conflict right before a really big struggle with his identity, with who is he? Is he Yaakov anymore? Or is he somebody who is, as the angel says, now you are Yisrael. You have striven with man and God, and you have come out successful. It's a little bit of a pep talk on himself and saying, look what you've done in life. Look how far you've accomplished. You're not Yaakov, you're Yisrael. But then, in this internal dialogue, he asks himself, after he said, you are Yisrael, he said, but who are you? So we see that it's not complete. And that's why the answer is, why are you asking me what my name is? Like, didn't we just go through this? Don't you know who you are? Don't you understand that? Don't doubt it. Don't keep asking, who are you? What is your name? You are Israel. You can strive with everything and that comes your way and come out successful. But he was still asking. He still had that measure of doubt. He still had that ability to be, metaphorically limping, damaged in a way that he can't walk with full assuredness of who he is. And that was a problem. And that is why he said he won't leave until there's a blessing. Remember he said, it's very interesting. The blessing, it says, Vayarech oto sham. He blessed him there. When we see blessings based on angels, based on God, based on whatever, we're always given, even Lavan, when he gives a blessing, we're given what the blessing is, what the words are, and something to understand what this blessing is. And it struck me that it just says Vayarech oto sham. And then the word sham is familiar. Where is it familiar from? It's familiar from when Abraham had kicked out Hagar and Ishmael, and Ishmael was about to die, and it says that God saw him, Asher Husham, it was as he was there. That's why, even though Ishmael was capable of murder and horrible things in his future, at that point in time, he was who he was, and God accepted him and blessed him to go on in life with who he was at that moment, with what he was at that moment. And this blessing that is given to Yaakov was only capable he was only a vessel to accept it as who he was, what he was capable of receiving at that time, who he was there, Sham. So his blessing was somewhat diminished from the full capacity of what he was able to receive, what he would have been able to receive if he would have really grew into himself and had that assuredness, had that strength, had that power of knowing and feeling comfortable in his identity without that second guessing. So I think that the message for us in life is we're constantly having internal dialogue. We're constantly doubting ourselves, but not to keep asking those questions, to build, to focus on the Yisrael in us, to focus on the ones who can take the challenges that are put our way and come out victorious. We can do that and focus on that and not keep doubting, saying, wait, who am I? And re-asking that, but saying, I am someone who can. I am somebody who is capable. I am somebody who can do whatever God brings my way. I am capable and I will. And then God will bless us in that capacity. God will bless us in the fullness of that capacity to have all of those blessings that are just waiting for us to be open and to be able to, and we see this in the Torah a lot of times. It says, then her eyes were open and she saw the well. Then his eyes were open. We see that there are things all around us. We're limited by our capacity, by our vision to understand who we are and how to take those blessings and run with them, how to receive those blessings. So many times there are blessings at our door and we just step right over them on our way out. So I just bless us all to be able to have the strength and power to know who we are, not to doubt ourselves, to see ourselves from a source of strength and goodness, and to have a blessed life. Shabbat Shalom.